Hillary Clinton is going to be the next president of the United States. Trumplicans have made it inevitable. But don't worry. Cheer up, conservatives. We're not really on Flight 93. After Hillary Clinton wins on November 8th, it doesn't mean that the right is doomed. That may be the only means of the right's survival. You gotta look, like we talked about yesterday, you gotta think in the big picture. You know, the horizon is more than just the next election. You have to look in the big picture. You have to look at the brand. You have to look at what Donald Trump actually is. I mean, I have never, as a general rule, believed in the idea of winning by losing. Generally, as a general rule, you don't win by losing. Donald Trump is the exception that proves the rule. A Trump victory would be losing by winning. I mean, we need to get rid of Trump, purge Trump from the Republican Party, every last vestige, like the cancer that he is, as soon as possible. The last thing that the right needs is Donald Trump in the White House. Period, exclamation point. And, of course, Heather Wilhelm agrees with me. Now, I'm a sucker for drama, so I suppose I should have loved the introduction to a now viral piece, the Flight 93 election that we discussed yesterday, published on September 5th at the Claremont Review of Books. Here's that stupid-ass quote again. 2016 is the Flight 93 election. Charge the cockpit or die! It reads, you may die anyway. You or the leader of your party may make it into the cockpit and not know how to fly or land the plane. There are no guarantees. Well, except one. The passengers are going to die either way. So why leave your fingerprints on it? Except one. If you don't try, death is certain. Actually, if you do try, death is certain. So tell me again how this analogy works. To compound the metaphor, a Hillary Clinton presidency is Russian roulette with a semi-automatic. Why not a flamethrower? Why stop with a semi-automatic weapon? Well, Trump, at least you can spin the cylinder and take your chances. This is a selling point for Trump? Good God! Boy, howdy, that's depressing. The author, who goes by the pen name of Publius Decius Mus, there's that drama again, goes on to detail how conservatism and virtue in general will die a grisly death, sort of like, well, only by electing Trump. Sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio getting mauled by the giant bear in The Revenant, but with poor battered Leo's mortal coil ultimately losing the fight, if a charmless and corrupt old leftist hag who is reportedly baffled by fax machines is elected to be President of the United States. Resuming, well, there's one more quote here I didn't have yesterday, and it's just as asinine. Quote, the election of 2016 is a test. In my view, the final test. No, the final test was 2012, and we lost. So this is the rigor mortis phase of the country. Of whether there is any virtue left in what used to be the core of the American nation. Virtue, Trump, in the same sentence. Oh, God. If they cannot rouse themselves to simply vote for the first candidate in a generation to advance their interests, well, neither major party candidate fits that description. And to vote against the one who openly boasts that she will do the opposite, and vote against the one who says he will do the opposite, then they are doomed. They may not deserve the fate that will befall them, but they will suffer it regardless. Actually, we're all going to suffer the fate the Trumplicans have thrust upon us. Anyway, close quote. Sheesh. There are many flaws in this paragraph, including the questionable assumption that Donald Trump will not betray conservatives the minute he were to take office. He already has. He already has. For the past 15 months, he has. It places much discussed pause on terrifying things like the nuclear codes. But there's a deeper problem here, found in a sentiment that has increasingly made the rounds as we inch toward November 8th. A Hillary presidency, we are told, would quickly and competently steamroll any remaining sparks of life out of the conservative movement. Actually, that's what a Trump presidency would do. Prepare for a future as sad and listless pavement pancake, friends. Throw away those wistfully ironic Reagan Bush 84 shirts. World doomed! Look, I know conservatives have been through a lot. In certain quarters, the universe appears to be going mad, and not in a fun, early Chris Farley kind of way. Barack Obama cheerily golfs as the world burns. Lena Dunham is still, for some baffling reason, regularly appearing on our TVs. Our major presidential candidates are jokes, and not the funny ha-ha type of joke, but more like the classic 200-volt electric hand buzzer gag, or the old force you to drink 6 bottles of tequila and then abandon you in the wilderness with just your socks on type of fraternity prank. But is conservatism really that fragile? Well, I wouldn't have said so before the rise of Trump mania, so all bets are off, I guess. Will it be crushed into submission with one fateful presidential election, like the last two wouldn't have already done that? It's certainly a dramatic vision, but it doesn't seem to line up with history. Ideas have power. The arc of time is long. Successful movements have seen setbacks before. Sometimes these turbulent setbacks, buckle your seatbelts, cynical passengers, even help said movements learn, adapt, adjust, focus, grow, come back, and win. On a more practical nuts and bolts level, and this is really the point that I want to make and emphasize, is Hillary Clinton really that competent? I mean, we say that incompetence is one of the core adjectives that describes Hillary Clinton, but suddenly she's going to be hugely competent when it comes to wiping out everything the two don't go together. Either she's incompetent or she's competent. Pick one. I mean, is she a charismatic superstar, an elderly yet mystical Pied Piper, a political Beyonce in a pantsuit ready to woo the masses with her compelling vision of the future? If you're chuckling here, well, good for you, first of all. Second of all, I don't blame you, because one fact is clear in this goofy madcap cycle. Almost no one enthusiastically likes Hillary Clinton. And the only reason she's going to win is because Trumplicans nominated Donald Trump. Any other GOP candidate in the field would be curb stomping Hillary Clinton into cellulite chunks. If Hillary pushes hard enough, she might even manage to spark a conservative cultural backlash. Although Barack Obama hasn't triggered such a backlash, so who knows? I mean, you could make the case that, well, Trumplicanism is the backlash. Yeah, well, it was self-directed. It wasn't directed at the left, it was directed at the right. Trumplicanism is the ultimate exercise in self-loathing and self-debasement. The more dramatic conservative doomsayers also fail to, well, ex-conservative, also fail to game out a few likely post-November 8 possibilities. A GOP Congress, for instance, could check a President Rodham, and would, for the most part. I mean, she doesn't have the charisma and the inherent identity politics clout that Barack Obama does, after all. Meanwhile, the next president, no matter who it is, will inherit a daunting laundry list of brewing disasters courtesy of Barack Hussein Obama. In other words, Hillary Clinton will be left holding the bag for all of Barack Obama's BS. And she won't have skin color behind which to hide because her vagina ain't going to cut it. If Mrs. Clinton when Mrs. Clinton gets elected, with her luck, Wall Street will collapse a few days later, hostile aliens will invade, or Hamilton will suddenly get pulled off Broadway, and she'll be the nation's fall gal for the next 4 years. But in the end, this isn't really about Hillary Clinton. It's about conservatism. And the fact that it's resilient enough to survive a single election. Properly understood, conservatism, or 3 elections. Properly understood, conservatism shouldn't even be hitched to a presidential candidate. And boy, if this year's "this can't be real" candidate election doesn't teach us that, then nothing will. Conservative principles are best demonstrated locally, close to home. The principle of subsidiarity, there you go, won't disappear no matter who wins in 2016, or rather after Hillary Clinton wins. So I'll grant you this, my friends. The next few months won't be pretty. They will be excruciating. But when it comes to hysterical cries that conservatives are on the ideological flight that's doomed to crash, it just might be time to cool our proverbial jets. And Trumplicans, it might just be time for you to stop the condescending, idiotic, emotional manipulation.